Hi guys, it's Scorpso3 here. Thank you guys for checking out this video. Today we are going to talk about Facebook and how they track you, what they track, and some pretty interesting experiences that I've had in the last couple of weeks. So let's get straight into the video. So interesting times at Facebook recently, interesting times on social media, quite a lot of division, quite a lot of censorship, and the freedom of speech seems to be evaporating from Facebook, I guess. It's been a very different time and something that sort of grabbed my attention because it seemed to be a lot of censorship. I live in Victoria in Melbourne, Australia, and a few of the things that we have seen recently with some protesting and bits and pieces of people wanting to stand up for their rights, whether it's right or wrong, I don't really have much of a say in that. But what we've seen recently is people who were trying to organise protests, peaceful protests mainly, from what we can see, but mainly the government have been taking that by force, and they've been literally walking into people's houses and arresting them and arresting people for Facebook posts. Now, I thought this was kind of, well, startling, to be honest. For me, it was kind of like, well, Facebook has literally, or social media in general, when I see people that are being arrested in their own homes in front of their families for putting up a Facebook post or inciting, I believe it was, inciting protests or whatever it may be. But look, to be honest, to me, that is weaponizing social media. That is turning social media into a weapon. And the government literally just created a law. Now, I'm not sure if this law has been around for a while or whether it just appeared out of nowhere, but there's been rapid law changes in Victoria from what it seems to be anyway. So it's interesting times. And to me, I looked at Facebook and I went, well, if Facebook could potentially be used as a weapon, are you happy with that? Are you happy to go ahead with putting all your information onto a platform where a law could change and you could potentially get yourself into trouble without even knowing it? So, after all that spiel, what we're going to look at is the last couple of weeks and what I've been through. And I just thought I would like to share this with people for your own information, for your family as well, because I really think that everyone should know what happens if you try to back away from Facebook and if you try to remove your information and your data for whatever reason. But that is what I tried to do. So I tried to remove some of my data because I thought, you know what? I've been on Facebook since 2008. And I was like, well, that's a long time. So what do they know about me and what have I put on there? And when you're young and you're a little bit ignorant and you're just putting all your information on there, the Saturday nights you go out on the town, your friends and how you communicate and what you've been put on there. And I thought it'd be interesting to have a look and see what they have. So what you can do is you can actually go to Facebook. Let's bring that up. And you can actually go into, now these are changing all the time, so it makes it kind of hard, but you can go into settings, I believe it is. If you click on settings, it'll bring you to this page. And if you go down the left-hand side, any one you want to click on, your Facebook information is a good thing. And you can go to access your information or transfer a copy of your photos and videos or download all of your information. What I decided to do, I was like, well, instead of doing all this first, is there a way to just remove your data? You know, is there a way to just remove maybe the first 6 or 7 years, or is there a quick way of doing it? So there's no way to do this via Facebook, as far as I can see. There is no way to remove your data. Not an easy way, anyway. So I found a third-party piece of software, and I don't think I have it installed right now. But I found a third-party. I did a Google search. I found a third-party piece of software, and I was like, oh, okay. What I'll do is I'll install this, and it actually allowed you, or it used to allow you, to remove years of data. And so I thought, yep, beautiful. I'll get this up and running. It took me a little while, but I got there. And this automatically removed data for me. So like, this is great. This is heaps easier, because it was impossible to do manually over Facebook or whatever. They give you a way to do it, but you could be there for years trying to remove all your data. So I got this thing that was automated. I wanted to remove the last 6-7 years just to see how that went. And to be honest, it took all day, just letting my computer run, sit there. I've got relatively fast internet, and it took, I was 2 hours in, 4 hours in, and I literally done 1.5 years. And it was slowing the longer I tried to do it. It was getting worse. So I was like, well, this is going to take a week at this rate. So I scrapped that idea, and then I went, well, what else is there? Did a bit of digging on Google, found nothing. Absolutely no other way to do it. So what I decided to do then was maybe I could just start another account. So I started another account using an email that I had already set up, and I changed all my administration rights from the groups that I'm like, I work with a local soccer club. I have my own streaming channel, Scorpso3, and another one which I wanted to use as a personal page. I decided to use those, and what actually happened was, so I transferred all my administration rights over, and then once I did that, or once I'd been playing around on Facebook a little bit, I started to not be able to log in properly. When I was logging in, it was telling me that I had breached the community guidelines for some reason, which was working perfectly fine until I tried to remove my data, which is weird. And then after a while, it locked me out of one of my accounts, my original account that I started Facebook for the last 13 years. And it told me to access, to review if I didn't think it was viable or reasonable to start a review. So I started a review, and it said that we may or may not get back to you due to the coronavirus, because they're busy or they're low on staff or some other, whatever reason. So I did that. I did a review. I just asked a question. I just said, oh, look, I don't understand what I've done wrong. I'm just trying to maneuver some data and trying to just move stuff around and maybe start a new page or whatever. And I still haven't heard back. And that was 4 weeks ago now. So I can't see that coming back anytime soon. So I tried to start a new account with a new email address. And as I was setting that up and adding all my friends in, that got banned in the same way. They said that I breached community guidelines. So at this stage, I was like, I don't even know whether I really want to get involved with any of this. So what I previously did with I did this before I even started playing with Facebook. I downloaded all my information. It was 3.3 gig for, I think it was 13 years or 14 years of Facebook. And I thought I'll go and have a look at that information just to see what data they actually take in. And I'll quickly show you what we have here. 1 second. Here we go. So this was a full download of all of my data. And so what it has, let's look at these folders here. It has about you, ads and businesses, apps and websites, archives, comments, Facebook gaming, following and followers, friends. And what you'll find here, it has every single thing that you've done. So say let's go to, I haven't looked through all these, but say let's go to posts. Or maybe it doesn't really matter. Comments. There's a file called comments. Now this is every single comment that I have made in the last, this goes back to 2010. And I started on Facebook at about 2008. And this is 2010. So they obviously weren't tracking all of the data till 2010, sorry. So what's that? They have, the last one there was September 4, 2020 when my account crapped itself. So that's very interesting. That's a lot of data that they take in, and that's just your comments. And as I've been through, even in your interactions, so every person that you've interacted with, I'm talking like every single thing that you do is recorded. Absolutely. They know everything about you. You might just think that, oh yeah, they know that I'm into cars, or I'm into like jewelry, or I'm into whatever because I get ads for that sort of thing. But no, they record everything. This may not worry you. You may be thinking, yeah, but that's okay because, it's safe, it's protected, it's on there. And that may not worry you at all. But to be honest, to have your whole life out there without you even knowing it, essentially, you don't even know how much information you've shared. And I bet if you have kids, I bet your kids don't even know all the information that they have on there because they rely on Facebook so much. And it's quite obvious that like Facebook's one of the biggest companies in the world. And I can tell you right now that the amount of money that they make, they definitely sell this information to businesses to sell, to make money, to make a profit. You are the product. There's no doubt about that because there's no product. You don't pay to use Facebook. So how do they make so much money? Like, it's an ad-driven, obviously, an ad-driven piece of software, which I've got nothing against that. But the problem is it's become very intrusive. It's no longer just a tool to talk to your friends. Now it's trying to grab your attention 24/7 and creating habits. You know how hard it is. Your partner would have cracked the shits with you at some stage because you're on your phone too much. I know mine has. It might have been your family. They want to say, look, let's get rid of our phones for dinner, and you found it hard to do. So, look, they know a hell of a lot about you. They know a hell of a lot about every person, and you put all that data together, and that is a scary prospect. So, look, if you don't believe me, get on Facebook's page, go to where I showed you before, and download all your information. Just download it and have a look for yourself. All this data's on here, but be careful, because for me, as soon as I started playing with this type of stuff, as soon as the algorithm or whatever was picking up that I was playing with this data, and then I decided to move some accounts around, I got banned, which doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So there's obviously something going on. As soon as you start playing around, they decide to remove you. So at the end of the story, literally, this should really be sounding alarm bells for you. And if it's not, carry on. Just keep doing what you're doing. There's no problem about that. But the effect that social media is having on people, especially younger kids or teenagers these days, to be honest, it's quite scary and quite intrusive. When it comes to payments, like they're trying to bring a Facebook Pay in, which will probably be the same as governments eventually bringing in a digital currency, but that just means they're going to be able to control your payments. They could ban you from your bank account exactly the same way as they banned my Facebook page because I didn't go along with their community guidelines, apparently, which I don't believe I have. So it's really, really interesting and quite scary, to be honest, because you potentially could be losing your freedom by sharing all your information with a company that is run by an algorithm. Essentially, there's no people on the other end monitoring everyone's data. They need computer-driven calculations and software to be able to make this happen and for this program to work. And that just means that you can be fed information that may be true, maybe isn't true. We've seen that quite a lot recently. And the algorithm takes control. It's not a person. A person's not sitting there looking at the politics of it all. They're not looking at any of that. What the algorithm's doing is just giving you what you want to see, or what other people want you to see. And I think that's the scariest part, is that they're giving you things that maybe you don't even want to see, but that's what they're showing you. Whatever you're interested in, whatever you're just starting to get interested in, that's what's going to happen. They're just going to feed that to you. Because I can tell you that, like, I've sat here talking about one thing, which I've never searched on Google, never searched on Facebook, never even looked at before. And even just from talking, when I go to Google and I start to type in the first word of something I've never searched before, and it comes up with exactly what I was talking about, that freaks me out. That just means that someone is listening inside your house, potentially, or taking an educated guess. Now that freaks me out, and I think you should be worried too. So what can you do? The bright side to all this is that you have the most powerful thing that you can never choose to do, and that is use Facebook as a tool, which is what is its biggest benefit, is that you can use it to create a business. You can use it to connect with friends. Be very careful what you say and what you do, obviously. Or you can choose not to use it. You can choose to back away and go to a decentralized program, a decentralized system, which is not controlled by a person or an algorithm. Surely it's going to be smaller and it's not going to be as many people on there, but you're going to have your freedom. It's not going to be controlled by a central source. So I would highly recommend looking at that. Because with this here, with Facebook, you're not in control of your own data. You're not in control of what you're thinking. And it can be quite devastating, and it really shouldn't be. I think this is something that's going to be quite scary coming up, especially when it comes to social media and the way that politics is driven, the way that fake news is shared, and the way that real news is shared, because everything has an angle at the moment. Everything seems to have its own opinion. There's not a lot of reporting, actual real reporting. They used to be news reporters. Now most of them are just opinion makers. And that has spread into social media. And that scares me, because no one really knows what's true and what isn't anymore. And you need to really think twice about everything that you hear. And that can leave people lost. It really can. It can leave a lot of people lost. So, look, what I suggest you do is believe in yourself. I would say that do not believe most things that you see from any type of publication on the internet, unless you have a couple of different sources and you take your time to really read information, and do not waste your time. Do not believe the first thing that you read on here or see on the news, because most of these things are just opinions and they really have no fact behind them, or they're angled facts, which does not help anyone either. So a couple of tips there, but when it comes to Facebook, I would love for you to have a look at all your data. Go in there and download the whole list, check it out, make sure you know what you're sharing. All I'd like to say is thanks for your time. I really appreciate it, and I hope this has been helpful. And please talk to your kids about what they're sharing, and show them how much is tracked and how much is controlled. And what I'll also do is leave a link to a Netflix documentary, which I only watched last night, and this was after 4 weeks after I've been having problems. This Netflix documentary arrived, and I would recommend that you watch it with your family and your friends, and share it, and share this video as well, because if you care about people and you want them to understand what they're doing, and they may not even know. So thanks so much for your time, guys. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.